Welcome to the Modern Homesteading Podcast.
We have allowed ourselves to become so disconnected and ignorant about something that is as intimate as the food that we eat.
Be prepared to grow your own for victory.
God said, I need somebody strong enough to clear trees and heave bales, yet gentle enough to yean lambs and wean pigs and tend the pink-combed pullets who will stop his mower for an hour to splint the broken leg of a meadowlark. So God made a farmer.
Hello and welcome to the Modern Homesteading Podcast. I'm your host, Harold Thornborough, and glad you're back with me again this week. And I think we've got a good one for you today. And I know it's springtime, and one of the major topics of the year, is this time of the year, is always gardening. But I want to change gears a little bit and talk about something else that's pretty common for this time of the year. It's not only a time for our gardens, but it's also a time we think about opening our houses up and doing a real good deep cleaning, that spring cleaning season. And on today's episode, I want to talk about how to spring clean your homestead in a safe and non-toxic way. That'll help your homestead be a healthier place. So I think we got a good one for you today. But before we jump into that, let's have a quote for today. This one comes from Joel Salatin. He says, "Get in your kitchens, buy unprocessed foods, turn off the TV, and prepare your own foods. This is liberating." And I think that Joel Salatin is one of the greatest voices for common sense in our day. I think he's so quotable because everything he says is, it's something we know that's right and something we wish we had said. And common sense aside, he is also a brilliant, hardworking farmer with a well-respected voice for the community. And for all those who want to see a change in the mentality of people and pursue a more sustainable lifestyle. So great quote from Joel Salatin. He's got 100 great quotes out there, so I thought that was a good one for today. Let's talk about some relevant news in the homesteading world here. An article I ran across from CBS News, of all places, it says the growing trend of vertical farming. Interesting article. Now, the way they're talking about vertical farming isn't like just growing up a trellis. These are warehouses filled with these shelving units with grow lights and growing just tons of food on these racks. Aero farms, what they're called. I mean, it's aeroponics. It's an amazing setup to look at, but it just also makes you realize just what's possible at doing in such a small area, really. This company, Aero Farms, it says they're rethinking how we grow fresh and affordable produce through vertical farming, growing vegetables like kale, arugula, and watercress indoors on shelves stacked 7 levels high. When all is said and done, Aero Farms hopes to produce 1.7 million pounds of greens a year. And to look at the picture in the article is pretty amazing. I mean, it's just this, like I said, this racks clear up into the top of this building. It's a 70,000 square foot facility housed in a former Newark, New Jersey steel plant. It's pretty amazing to see the pictures of it and to read the article in a little more detail. I'll have a link to this article in the show notes. But the reason it caught my eye is, so often I hear this. Well, we need these mega farms out here, where we're just doing all this monocropping of soybeans and corns for, hundreds, thousands of acres all over the United States, all over the world to feed the people, And here, producing a lot of food in a pretty good size area, but it's in a building, and maybe it's not the best way to grow things. I'm not even going to make that argument. But I'm just saying there are ways, and it makes me always think about what's possible on a city lot. You could, if it wasn't for government regulation stopping you from doing a lot of things, it's possible to feed, I think, a family of 4 or 5 from a city, an average postage stamp lot year round. From that, I would say 80%, maybe more. Food comes from that lot for an entire year. I think it's possible. I think it's hard work, and I think you really have to function stack, and you really have to put in the infrastructure for that to happen. But I look at what I do on my little lot, and I think, you know what, if it wasn't for really some of the things that hold me back, I could do so much more. And some of those things I say, well, I'm just going to do them anyway, but some things you just don't push, But maybe we should. Maybe we should all just push and get it done. But you know what? The reality is there would be no food shortage if regulations were more relaxed and allowed people to do more. I think you could accomplish a lot. And not everybody wants to do that, but no doubt about it, a lot of food can be manufactured, grown, raised in relatively small areas if allowed to do so. So check out that article. I think it's interesting, and it just shows the possibilities of what a person can do in a small area. Another article I thought was pretty good was this one's from the National Observer, and it's called How to Grow Veggies at the Edge of the Arctic Circle. And it's a pretty cool article, and it's, again, indoor growing, and it's vertical growing and in a greenhouse, and they're right at the edge of the Arctic Circle. And it says, fresh, locally grown kale at the edge of the Arctic Circle. A Ryerson University student project is proving it's possible to grow vegetables in a part of Canada where almost nothing green can survive. Pretty good article. It's experimental. It's a geodome greenhouse, and what they're doing up there is pretty cool. And I think it's interesting. Again, what's your excuse? Is it where you live? Is it how much space you have? I think articles like this just prove, with a little bit of ingenuity and study and practice and experimenting, we can grow a lot of food just about anywhere. So check that article out too. It's got some pretty cool pictures of their geodome and what they're doing up there and growing plants. So again, another great article, links in the show notes. And by the way, today's show notes will be found at smalltownhomestead.com/60. This is episode 60. So check out those articles. Pretty cool. Okay, on to some homestead updates. What have we been doing around here? I've been really preparing the raised beds, and I actually took a chance yesterday, and we got some really nice sunny weather coming in here. Generally, this would be way too early to be planting things outside in the raised beds, but I took a chance, and I thought, well, I'll just cover them up with some plastic if we get some cold nights or whatever. But for the next several days, we're looking at like some 70s and lows in the upper 40s, and I think everything's going to be fine. So we'll see. It's taking a chance because we're probably planting a good month early outside. But, you know, I've got plenty extras in the greenhouse, I guess, if they don't make it and I have to replant some things. But, yeah, I've been getting that ready. And I had some raised beds beside when I put in my greenhouse, it's a small hobby greenhouse. And when I built it, I put in a couple raised beds on each side of it, just mostly for decorative. But I thought, hey, anytime you can have a reason to put another raised bed in, do it. And it lifted the greenhouse up. And of course, I just extended that out and made raised beds. But I think what I'm going to do in those, and what I thought when I did it was, plant some flowers in there. Just keep it decorative, make it look good. But I thought, well, why not function stack? I mean, yeah, it's good to have some nice flowers, but let's have flowers with a purpose. And I had the tomato plants, just a few feet away from the side of that greenhouse. So I thought, well, marigolds are a great companion plant for tomatoes. So I'm planted some marigolds there, and I'll have marigolds popping up there, and they'll serve in a great way to help those tomatoes with insects and whatnot there. Marigolds are just a great plant to incorporate into your garden because they have so many benefits, and they're a great companion plant for several vegetable plants. So doing that. Also, I planted a bunch of strawberries. I had quite a few strawberries last year, but in my humble opinion, you can never have enough strawberries. So there was a guy actually on Craigslist, and in a city it's about 20-mile drive for me, but I seen his ad on Craigslist, and I thought, here's a guy, just trying to make a little extra money, starting a few things. He had a greenhouse. He had a greenhouse that he built, really nice, and I went over and kind of met him and checked out all he had going on. He's propagating a lot of things, and he's growing a lot of bushes and trees and all kinds of plants and stuff. And I bought a couple flats of strawberries from him. So I planted 36 strawberries out here beside my house and made another strawberry bed. But, there's just so many people doing so many great things everywhere. And this guy he had probably a couple acres, but, most of his growing was done in a relatively small area. But he had a lot going on, and I liked what he had. I liked what he was doing. So, I try to support people like that rather than just running down to Walmart and buying my stuff down there when I can. So I thought, yeah, and I probably could have, I could separate my strawberries and kind of keep them expanded out, but I was trying to get a jump start on it and get a few more plants going. So I planted 36 strawberry plants. I've been really surprised by the comfrey. The comfrey I planted last year it popped earlier than anything else on my property. When nothing else was green, it popped up and it was growing like crazy. And I'm telling you, it is huge. I mean, I cannot believe how much the comfrey has already grown this year. I mean, early. I mean, I could have said the same thing 3 weeks ago. It's amazing. That stuff is doing really good. So get some comfrey on your property if you can. I said a while back I was going to try to separate a bunch and sell it, but it's been a crazy year. I just have not had the chance to get in there and really get it separated and spread around and sell some of it this year. So I probably won't. But, yeah, it's doing really good around here, and I love having it for a fertilizer. And for feeding the rabbits, love it too. So I give them a little bit of it. So it's a great thing to have around on your property. Been trying to be kind of patient and not transplant too many things around here because, well, I don't want to lose too much if it gets cold again, and it's entirely possible where we live here in Indiana. So got to be careful about that. But yeah, I did want to take a chance and plant a few things. Also, with those strawberries, I forgot about this. I planted some rose bushes around them. I was reading that rose was a great companion plant for strawberries, so I actually put some rose out, and they're already looking good. So yeah, I try to really do that and incorporate good companion plants for whatever I'm planting that help with bug control, helps with a lot of different things. There's a lot of different reasons. I've talked about that previously. I talked about companion planting. I've done a podcast on that. But there's so many benefits to looking up good companion plants for what you're planting and getting them in there. So just try to do that around your property if you have the opportunity. And plus, it just really can increase your harvest. It can really help with the pest control. And it just looks nice, too, to have flowers and bushes and different things kind of close to one another and helping one another. It just gives this variety in your yard that it's really nice to look at. So, yeah, if you have the opportunity to do that, I highly recommend it. Well, I think that's enough talking about what we got going on around here. Let's jump on to the main topic of today's podcast, and that's healthy spring cleaning tips for your homestead. Most of you that listen to this podcast on a regular basis know, my past, I had some health issues and a few years ago, 5 years ago. Matter of fact, this month is 5 years exactly since I had cancer. So, of course, being healthy took a whole new meaning in my life. It's like I don't want harmful chemicals around me, and I don't want this chemical-laden food around me. But one of the big issues with that is also household cleaners. Commercial cleaning products aren't required to have labels that list all their ingredients. Though some companies do it voluntarily, or they provide information on their websites, many of them. A label with the words poison or danger indicates that some ingredients are toxic if ingested, and the ones with words warning or caution mean their ingredients could be dangerous if swallowed. So they don't tell you what's in them a lot of times, but you just know that they're really, really bad. Well, we're getting that stuff on our hands. We're breathing in the chemicals. And I got serious about that a few years ago. I was like, we don't need a lot of that in our house. Now, my wife really isn't quite on the same level with me on that. And some of the reason is some of the products you use maybe, for one, it maybe uses a little bit more elbow grease. And also, some of them, the smells, she don't really like vinegar, which I'm going to talk about. So what are some safer cleaning products, and what can you do to make the best use of them? Number one I want to talk about is lemon juice. Lemon juice contains a lot of acid, which makes it one of the best cleaners due to its low pH and antibacterial properties. And guess what? It smells really good, and it usually does not cause damage on surfaces. You can use it on countertops, tables, cutting boards, microwaves, grout, etc., things like that to wipe things down. Has a great smell, and like I said, it does have those antibacterial qualities. So it is great to use, and a lot of times using it with something else is an option. You always want to check, and that's something I'm not going to do, folks. I'm not going to go through and give you a bunch of specific recipes because they're everywhere on the internet. I just give you some ideas for cleaning products, things you can replace harsh chemicals in your house with natural products that work really good, And there's just a lot of different recipes to make different kinds of cleaners with them. So I recommend just going on the internet and doing a search for, lemon juice cleaning products, something you can make with lemon juice. And you'll see tons of websites pop up. I don't want to get into all that because there's so many recipes. I'll share a thing or two with you here and there. Like in the microwave, for example, if you just take a little bit of, like a half a cup of lemon juice and put it in a bowl and run your microwave on high for like a minute, everything in that microwave will wipe out so easy. That lemon juice will kind of evaporate in there and stick to the sides and stuff a little bit. And then you can just take a wet rag, and just wipe down the insides of that microwave, and it just cleans off so much easier. So that's just one thing we like to do. Using it with other things works really well too. So, like for example, you can take I'll talk about salt in a few minutes, but you could take chop a lemon in half, and put a little salt on it, and that gives it a little bit of an abrasiveness to it. And you can use that to scrub a cutting board or a countertop or a table or something like that, and it works really good. So using it with other things is nice. Another thing I want to talk about is baking soda. Baking soda is great for absorbing and neutralizing odors. It has some antibacterial activity, and also has a mild abrasive quality for scrubbing. So you can use it on floors, countertops, bathroom tile, tubs. Also using it on copper and silver. It's great for that. Works really, really well. You can use it with other things as well that helps it even work better. Baking soda is a natural mineral. So it's not unhealthy for you or anything. Now, baking powder is a little different. It has the aluminum. I don't know. It has a little bit something in there that can cause a little bit of an issue. But baking soda is entirely safe to use for this. So it has some qualities, and there's a lot of cleaners out there that use baking soda. Again, using it with some of these other products like vinegar, which I'm going to talk about next. Vinegar, it's a natural disinfectant. Works well for removing lime deposits and some stains. You can use it again on windows, really well on windows. I love using it on windows. Spray bottle of that, 50-50 mixture of vinegar and water, and it's a really good window cleaner. Microwaves, blinds, work really good for cleaning off blinds. Floors, tubs, shower doors, etc. I'll tell you a little trick with vinegar and baking soda used together. This is pretty awesome. If you I don't know if you ever made one of those volcanoes or seen somebody make a volcano for a science project when they were in school, and you mix vinegar and baking soda together, and it makes like a foam that they would do like the lava, and you could use some food coloring in it, and it would make that lava that would pour out of the top of the volcanoes. Well, that's actually a very good cleaning agent. If you take a trash bag and you take apart your grill, your gas grill, and you lay all that stuff in the trash bag, and then take 2 cups of vinegar and 1 cup of baking soda and pour them into that bag, it'll foam up all over all that grill stuff inside that bag. Just seal it up, just tie it up, leave it set for 24 hours, and then give it a good washing, rinsing off with water when you take it all out, and it cleans off really good. And it's a really good trick to do with your gas grill. You can also take your some of the grades off your oven, the burner grades off your oven, or the racks inside, and do the same thing with. Works really, really well. It makes it really a good cleaner. So use that foam. Also, something that a book. I'll tell you about a book that has a few recipes in it for cleaning. The Made from Scratch Life by Melissa K. Norris, a book she has out. Melissa has a great podcast, and she's a great author and has a great website as well. Her podcast is Pioneering Today. And in her book, The Made from Scratch Life, she's actually got a section there on vinegar. And she talks a little bit about how, of course, the smell of vinegar can be a little bit rough. And my wife doesn't like the smell of vinegar, so she really doesn't like it when I use it to clean things with too much. But in that book, she gives a little recipe. I won't give away too much of your book, Melissa, if you hear this. But she does talk about using lemon peels or other citrus peels and soaking them in vinegar, and then pour, for however long, and then of course it'll take on a little bit of the smell of those citrus peels, and then use that vinegar mixture as the cleaner. So a good little tip there, and I haven't tried that yet, and I don't know that might be a little bit better for the smell in the house. I think the smell goes away pretty fast. Once it dries off, it seems to go away pretty fast, unless you put your nose right up against the window or something. But, it's one of the things you get used to, I guess. But if you can do that and knock a little bit of the smell edge off of it, and maybe even give it a pleasant smell, like some lemon peels or some orange peels or something like that, I think that's a great tip. So get that book if you get a chance. There's some really good stuff in that book, The Made from Scratch Life by Melissa K. Norris. But vinegar is a great cleaner. I mean, I do use it quite a bit. I mean, we go through a lot of vinegar around here. I have a lot of outdoor applications for it. I use it as a weed killer. I mean, I put it in a spray can and I go around my driveway and stuff and kill weeds with it and stuff. And it's an all natural product that's safe, and I like using it. So, vinegar is a good one. How about olive oil? Maybe you don't think about that, but if you have a lot of wood furniture, it's a good replacement for furniture polish. You can use it on wood furniture, leather, wicker, stainless steel. It gives a shine to stainless steel. So using olive oil is a good household cleaner, and of course you don't use a lot of it. It don't take very much to a little on a rag and wipe things down. It cleans them off and gives them a nice shine. So use olive oil for those kind of things. Now, something there's a lot of debate about, and that's borax. Is borax a safe cleaning product? Now, I don't want to get into all this. I think it is. It's in mass amounts, it can be dangerous, but anything in mass amounts can be dangerous. But it is a natural product, and I think used in normal amounts, it's totally fine. But anyway, I don't want to get into that. I will, however, link to an article about the debate of borax being a safe cleaning product and why this person in this article thinks it's safe. So I'll have that link in the show notes if you want to read a little bit more on that. Borax is a great cleaning product. You can use it on porcelain, stainless steel, use it on carpet, the toilet, tile, tubs, sinks, linens, mattresses. Now, we do use a little bit of it in our laundry from time to time to give our detergent a little bit more cleaning power. Matter of fact, the homemade soap we use actually already have. I put part of the ingredients for that homemade soap is borax, so we'll add a little extra sometimes if we need a little extra cleaning power. So borax is, I feel like, a really good, safe, I will say non-toxic cleaning product. But again, there's some debate about that. I won't argue it. If you don't feel safe using it, you shouldn't use it. I'm not here to convince you of that. I'm just here to give you an option. It doesn't have any kind of harmful chemical smells to it or anything that could cause you any problems. So I think it's really good there. There's some people use it as a weed killer as well. But I think it can, if you use an abundance of it on the ground, it can cause some problems in the ground, a little bit of a contamination in the ground. So I don't know that I recommend it for that. But yeah, that's another one I'm including in the list. Another one that will be on the list is hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide is a great disinfectant. It has some stain removing qualities. You can, again, use it on countertops, glass, anything that has mold. It works really good to kill mold, mildew. You use it in your tubs, your shower doors, your porcelain. And it's inexpensive. I mean, you can get a good sized bottle of it for like $1 at a dollar store or something. So, you usually want to do like a 50-50 mixture in a spray bottle when you're spraying things down, so it's not too strong. So yeah, a good product for cleaning those things as well. I mentioned salt earlier in combination with lemon juice. I think salt, of course, it has a little bit of a purifying agent to it, but mostly I think it's just great to add to things to give it a scrubbing power. It has an abrasiveness to it, so anything you put it in and you'll be able to scrub with a little bit more. It'll give you some of that extra cleaning power, and of course it's a safe product, and it can remove stains as well, especially on wood, like you have a cutting board or something like that, or a chopping block. Really good to scrub that out, and it can help pull the stains out. Anyway, that's a few products that I wanted to tell you about. I think those things work really good. Now, in combination with that, I think you need some cleaning tools. Microfiber cloths and brooms work really well for like cleaning ceiling fans, doing your dusting with, and many of those are reusable. You can wash them, and I'll put a link in the show notes to a good microfiber cloth. I think that's your better bet when you're using some of these natural products, and you want to, again, be kind to the environment, because if you're bringing in a bunch of things that you're just going to turn around and throw away, it's, again, you're just creating waste. I like the microfiber cloths. I like reusing reusable mops. And clotheslines are awesome. Put a clothesline up. It's a great way when you're doing your spring cleaning. You can hang your curtains out there to dry and whatever else you're cleaning up at the time. But you can go from room to room to room, and you don't even have to do it all at once in your spring cleaning. But there's a lot you can do with these natural cleaning products that are less harsh, and I think you can do a lot of great spring cleaning, get your house all cleaned up, and do it in a safe way. Also, I think a compressed air duster is nice to have blowing out your electronics and behind things and whatnot. So, get you the compressed air cans that spray into things. That really helps. It'll kick up some dust, but it'll blow out your electronics and things like that if you have things like that. So there you have it. I won't go into any more detail than that. Again, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of recipes using those products online. And I don't want to steal anybody's thunder by giving them all away. Just do a quick Google search and you will find tons. But those are the products you'd want to have on hand. And those are products that most homesteaders have in their house. I mean, I always have lemon juice, lemons, baking soda, vinegar, olive oil, and do have borax and hydrogen peroxide and salt in this house. So those cleaning products, those products can be used for cleaning. They have a lot of other purposes besides just cleaning. Even in personal hygiene cleaning, they have a lot of use in those areas as well. But they are great to have around. So there you have it. A few healthy spring cleaning tips for your homestead that are non-toxic. I want to give you a couple recommendations again this week. Another podcast I came across is really good. I really like this one. If you're a gardener, if you're kind of a gardening nerd, you're going to really like this one. It's called Encyclopedia Botanica podcast. Very good. I'll have a link to that in the show notes. One lady in particular really knows her stuff on this podcast, and she gives you a lot of insight into the growing practices and what you can even do with the things you're growing. Very good podcast. So I think you'll enjoy that one. So check out the Encyclopedia Botanica podcast. I also want to tell you about a great YouTube channel I come across, and many of you might already be subscribed to this YouTube channel. He's got almost 10,000 subscribers. It's called Edible Acres. Man, I just found it last week, a couple weeks ago maybe, and I've just been burning through his videos. A lot about permaculture. He's doing it in a pretty small area. Very intense, though, what he's doing there, and just an enjoyable guy to listen to. He's out there doing stuff in his garden. He's just doing a lot of permaculture, pleasant to listen to, very good at explaining things, and I think you'll really, really enjoy that one. I'll have a link to that also in the show notes. It's Edible Acres on YouTube. Hey, again, I wanted to thank everybody who makes this podcast possible. There's some of you who give through Patreon. There's some who donate through PayPal, others who shop through Amazon using our affiliate link. And also, I really do appreciate those of you who leave an iTunes review or a review anywhere, for that matter. If you listen on Stitcher or a Google or any place where you can leave a review, I always appreciate that. So thank you guys for encouraging me. Thank you guys for helping me financially to do the podcast and to do this. I did want to talk about, just for a minute before I end this podcast, I didn't do one last week, and the reason is because I didn't feel like doing one last week because my grandma passed away last Friday, and there was nothing preventing me from doing. I didn't have to do anything. My grandma didn't even want a funeral. She was a pretty humble, modest lady, and she didn't want to draw a lot of attention to herself, and she was a good woman. She really, really was. I spent a lot of weekends, me and my brother and my sister and my cousins, we spent a lot of weekends at my grandma and grandpa's house growing up. And a lot of what I love now is because of that time. They had a homestead. And I'll tell you, I just wanted to take a few minutes and just say, I just remember their home. They didn't have animals, and they didn't even garden. So what do I call their place a homestead? Well, they actually rented an old farmhouse for many, many years, the whole time I was growing up, pretty much. And on this homestead, the people who had it previously basically set it up as a homestead, as a sort of a perennial homestead. I mean, it had a lot of fruit trees, mulberry trees. It had plum trees, and it had a walnut grove. It had strawberry patches. It had a grape vineyard. It had a few acres, a big barn. I don't know. It just, there was always so much to do out there. And my grandma and my grandpa encouraged us to get out there and just do things. You know, it had a little bit of a woods to it in the Walnut area. And we'd go in there and we'd play and we'd do things and we'd make bows and we were just always doing something, you know, and I really developed a real love for being outside and trying things and you know, picking fruit off of trees and eating it. And we were just always outside. And she encouraged that. She's like, get out there and have some fun. And I just remember that old house that had an old outdoor outhouse and, you know, that we would use occasionally. And it was a huge house they had. They burnt wood. So there was cutting wood for the wood stove. And, you know, I look at the upbringing that we had there at that house even. And we spent, I bet half of our weekends at least we spent at the grandparents' house. And my grandma was a good woman, and I'm going to miss her. And she would have done anything for her grandkids. Loved her grandkids. Loved her great-grandkids. And I'm going to miss her. And I just didn't feel like doing a podcast last weekend. I just wanted to have a weekend where I put some thought into my grandma. And it's been a rough year. We've had a lot going on, surgeries and sicknesses and emergencies and now a death in the family. And, you know, I hope things are going to get better. And they do seem to be getting better. And it was no surprise that she passed away. She wasn't real healthy and she was up there in her years pretty good. So that didn't shock me. But at the same time, you know, I miss my grandma. And I didn't spend near enough time with her in these last few years. I didn't. And we lived in the same town. And I guess I just say that as a reminder that we can talk about homesteading. And, you know, I shared a lot about this on a podcast I did a few episodes ago on leaving a legacy. But, you know, don't put any of this stuff above family. Matter of fact, the reason you should be doing this is because of family. And, you know, don't let a garden pull you away from hanging out with your grandma or your mom or your dad or your grandpa. Take the time. And if you don't live that close to them, make the phone calls, go through the efforts to be part of your family. And you'll be glad you did. Because I do have some regrets that I didn't spend enough time with her. And I've let work and my own projects pull me away too much. And I enjoy doing those things. But I wasn't going to let a podcast keep me from thinking about my grandma. And I have in the past, you know, let things that I didn't have to do keep me away from hanging out with my family. So that's why I didn't do a podcast last week. Hopefully we can get back on track here. It's been something a lot of times here lately, and I really appreciate those of you who've been patient and supported this podcast, even though I haven't been very consistent with it these last few months. But again, it's been a crazy year. It's been one of the craziest years of my life as far as just things happening. So anyway, I hope you all have a great spring. We'll, Lord willing, be back with you next week. And until then, happy homesteading and God bless.
Thanks for listening. To see the show notes for this podcast or listen to other podcast episodes, go to smalltownhomestead.com. There you can also read our blog, connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, and take advantage of the many resources we make available to help you along in your homesteading journey. Please share this podcast and help us to carry out our mission of helping others to homestead today for a better tomorrow.